In this video, I am going to show you step by step how to manage resistance to change within your organization and how to save time in the process. There are 6 steps for managing resistance to change. Step 1, you will need to identify the source of resistance. Before you can solve resistance, you need to understand it. And so you want to do things like conducting surveys, interviews, or engaging with focus groups to hear employees' concerns directly. You also want to look for recurring themes such as fear of job loss, workload increases, or unclear expectations. A lot of times, as I do change management consulting for a lot of big clients, I normally get situations where the client is rolling out a large transformation and we run into a lot of resistance because people are scared of losing their jobs, they are scared of increased workloads. And so, to mitigate resistance, we have to apply a lot of the change management recommendations that I am going over with you in this video. A third activity as part of part one, or rather step one, is to segment feedback by department or role to ensure that you identify where resistance is strongest. You also want to ensure that you document insights to guide your communication and training strategies. Something to keep in mind is this: resistance is rarely about the change itself. It is usually how the change impacts daily work activities that really leads to that concern and also resistance. Here is an important tip for you, and you want to take notes on this. When doing your resistance to change assessment and mapping, you will want to categorize and provide training and support for those stakeholders who have a high level of resistance and who also have a high level of being able to negatively impact or derail your project. And here's what I mean. When you take a look at this template that I have in front of me, you will notice that there are some stakeholders who, on the resistance level column, they are flagged as high resistance, meaning they are actively and highly resisting the change. But check this out. Take a look at the other column, ability to impact the change. This is when a stakeholder, it could be a VP, it could be a senior director, or it could be somebody that is very outspoken. They have a high ability to negatively or positively impact your project. And so when you have a situation of somebody, a stakeholder with a high level of resistance, who also has a high level of being able to impact your project, then you have a problem. The solution is you want to quickly engage with this particular stakeholder, or you get help from other leaders that are championing the project or from change champions. You get their help to engage with these types of stakeholders to help reduce their resistance. Something else that I do from time to time when doing change management consulting is I engage with the primary sponsor and I say, we have this leadership individual that is resisting the change, and they also have a high capability of derailing the project. I need your help to go talk to this person and manage this resistance. And that is something you can do to help reduce resistance when you have these types of stakeholders. And that brings us to step number two for managing resistance to change within your organization. Step number two involves clearly communicating the why. Clarity reduces uncertainty. And so you want to ensure that you explain the purpose of the change and how it aligns to organizational goals. Whenever people are faced with change, the first reason why they say they resist the change is lack of awareness. So ensure that in your communications, you are explaining why the change is happening and how it engages with organizational goals. The next thing is you want to connect the change to how it benefits the employee. What's the employee's WIFM? WIFM is WIIFM, and that stands for what's in it for me. Examples of WIFM include reduce workload or improved collaboration, right? So you want to identify examples of WIFM and communicate that. That helps to reduce resistance. Another thing is you want to be transparent. Be transparent about challenges and how leadership plans to overcome these challenges. When doing change management, one of the biggest ways in which I've been able to reduce resistance is by being transparent about the challenges and also asking leadership to also be transparent. People connect better when they see that you are transparent about the challenges that are upcoming as well as the solution. Another one is this: you want to repeat the message consistently across multiple channels. There are many studies that have been done that show that people sometimes need to hear the same thing differently 7 times. Let me repeat that. You want to say the same thing 7 different ways for people to really start to get that message. And so when communicating, when engaging, you can use emails, town halls, team meetings as just a few examples. And here is something that is absolutely important for you to remember. People are more likely to support your change when they understand the bigger picture, which moves us to step number three. For step number three, you want to ensure that you are engaging with stakeholders early. This is another very important step. People support what they feel they help create or what they feel they had an input into. And so you want to ensure that you are involving managers, influencers, key employees like change champions within impacted departments. You want to engage these people to help shape the change. When I do change management consulting, one mistake that I normally see that leads to resistance is an organization or the project team. They do the change. They develop a new process, they're implementing a new technology. But guess what? They don't engage impacted users, impacted business units. They don't engage them in the process of what the new processes or technology should be. What normally happens is impacted users all of a sudden they get an invitation for training. And that is when they start to hear about this new change that is happening. And they often resist because they were never bought into the change. They didn't have a say in what that new change or the new state, the future state should be. And so when I get hired as a consultant to help reduce a resistance, I have to basically scramble to ensure that I am kind of rewinding things to get the stakeholders engaged and really make them feel that, okay, mistakes were made in the beginning, but we are actually here to correct those mistakes. So rather than wait until people start to resist because you did not involve them, a key important step is involve them early before the change actually gets rolled out. Something else, you want to host workshops or brainstorming sessions where employees, managers, leaders can contribute ideas of what the future state should be. Another step is assign change champions to act as role models and communicators. Change champions play a critical role in managing resistance within their departments. Another thing you want to do is encourage managers to lead by examples. During a time of change, employees look to their managers for direction. And so if they don't see their managers adopting the change, then they will feel, why bother? Our managers are not adopting this change. Why should we? And so encourage managers to lead by example. Engagement is how a lot of my change management consulting clients have been able to successfully switch resistance into leadership and support. When people feel they own the change, when they feel they are leading the change, it makes it easy for them to actually support. One thing for you to make a note on, if you're taking notes, is this. When people feel a change is happening with them, it's easy for them to adopt. When people feel a change is happening to them, it's easy for them to resist. Make it a partnership. Which leads us to step number 4. Step number 4 involves providing training and also support. And if you sign up for the OCM solution, you can sign up for the free account. We have provided a lot of resources, which you can see on my screen, that you can use to help manage resistance within your organization and improve your success for resistance management. Take note on these next things that I'm about to say. Resistance often comes from a lack of skills or confidence. And so you will want to offer role-specific training to help employees feel competent with the new tools or processes. Role-specific training just really means targeted training. So for example, if you're going to, the project is going to impact sales, engineering, and human resources. For these 3 departments, when doing training, you want to ensure you are providing customized training. One size doesn't fit all when it comes to reducing resistance and increasing knowledge and capability. You also want to create easy to access resources like job aids, FAQs, videos, or even guides. You also want to provide coaching and mentoring for those employees who need extra support. You can also establish a help desk or a feedback loop so questions can be answered quickly. The better equipped employees and managers feel, the less resistance they will show. I normally encourage my change management clients to facilitate a two-way communication loop. We just don't want to be talking to people. We just don't want leadership talking down at employees. We want that upward reaction. We want people to be able to provide feedback on the changes. That's a two-way communication channel very, very important for you to implement that within your organization in order to reduce resistance to change. Which moves us to step number 5. For step number 5, you want to recognize and address emotional reactions. Change is emotional, not just logical. And so you want to help reduce resistance to change by making sure that you and your team acknowledge feelings of fear, stress, or frustration instead of ignoring them. Encourage open dialogue through team check ins or even anonymous feedback channels. You can also encourage open dialogue by asking people to talk to their change champions. You want to show empathy by validating concerns and offering reassurance. You also want to support managers and leaders with training to recognize and respond to signs of communications. When people feel heard, resistance often softens. When people feel the change is happening in partnership with them, resistance often goes down. And that moves us to step number 6. For step number 6, you want to track adoption progress. What do I mean by that? One thing that I tell my change management clients who hire me to help manage resistance within their organization is this: what gets measured gets managed. Let me repeat that. What gets measured gets managed. It means that you want to define success metrics such as adoption rates, system usage, employee satisfaction scores. You want to use dashboards or reports to monitor progress in real time. You want to identify areas of resistance that are persistent and target them with tailored interventions. You want to adjust communication and training strategies based on data. When I do change management for clients, I normally apply this concept because consistent and continuous measurements of adoption and how resistance is being mitigated allows me and the team to course correct before resistance becomes entrenched. And so this is something you want to do within your organization, that you are constantly tracking adoption and also tracking resistance levels to ensure you can very quickly pivot before resistance becomes entrenched. Emphasis here on before resistance becomes entrenched. Resistance always happens, and that is part of your job as a change or project practitioner to manage those resistance. But if the resistance becomes ingrained, it becomes extremely difficult to reduce. Another thing is this: to help simplify everything that I've said so far in regards to how you can manage resistance within your organization, I have created a free, ready to go checklist that walks you through each step of the way. You will notice on my screen that the checklist really is a simple checklist that breaks your activities into the key 6 steps. Now, I often get questions from change management consulting clients about, hey, how should we celebrate successes after managing a resistance or when we are implementing a project? And my response is this: in regards to how you celebrate successes, here is how you yourself can actually implement celebrating successes. You want to ensure that you are highlighting quick wins You can do that in newsletters, meetings, or even intranet posts. You know your organization or your team, you guys, and when I say you guys, I mean the generic you guys, uh, you all send out communications. There are teams within your organization that sends out newsletters. And so engage with the people that are responsible for sending out those newsletters and say, hey, can we add a sentence or two, or can we add a section in your newsletter that talks about this change that is happening, or that talks about how people are successfully adopting this change? If you or your team are the ones responsible for sending out these newsletters, then just go ahead and leverage what you're already doing to communicate successes and also communicate how people can better adopt the changes. Rewarding individuals and teams is another critical component, and you can have your leadership do that. You can have leadership send out an email to the managers of people that have embraced the change early, recognizing these people. It really goes a long way when people feel recognized in front of their leaders and leadership. So you can have your project sponsor do that. You also want to share success stories to inspire others. You can do these. Your sponsors can do these. You can have executives and leaders do these within the different impacted departments. You can have your change champion network, individuals within your change champion network. You can have them share success stories with their colleagues. All of these help to inspire others to want to adopt the change and reduce resistance. And those are the 6 main steps on how to reduce resistance to change within your organization. Watch the next video for the step-by-step guide on the key mistakes to avoid when doing a resistance to change management activity. See you there.